So you wrote this book, 100 Things to Do in Duluth Before You Die. So can you just tell me a little bit about this?
Yes, absolutely. This is a new book from Reedy Press, all about your Duluth bucket list, hence the bucket on the cover. One of the questions I get is, why is there a bucket on the cover? And the answer is, it's meant to be a bucket list. It's meant to be a list of things that you should think about doing, maybe even try to do, maybe even actually accomplish, before the end of your days come about while you are in the city of Duluth. Of course, very few people will actually manage to do all 100 things, but I hope it serves as a great source of inspiration for people who live here and can think about things that maybe they've never actually got around to doing, but have always thought about doing, or maybe even hadn't heard of, even though they live here. And certainly for visitors who like to come to Duluth, if you are the kind of person who comes to Duluth, every year and you have your go-tos, got to eat here, got to do this thing, got to ride this boat, that's great. But there are 96, 97 other great things to do here in Duluth, and maybe mix it up. I hope this book helps provide the inspiration for people to vary their Duluth activities.
So you were telling me that you're still kind of like a Duluth newcomer, even though you did live here a little bit as a kid. So what was the process like finding these bucket list things in Duluth? Was it fun?
It was a lot of fun to write this book. I knew when this opportunity came up, I couldn't possibly turn it down because it would be so much fun to write this book. I'm fortunate in that my day job is arts and entertainment reporter at the Duluth News Tribune. So I get to spend 40 hours a week just thinking about, talking about, writing about all the interesting and entertaining things to do in the city of Duluth. So it was not at all hard to come up with a list of 100 things to do. So I essentially had to brainstorm. It didn't take too long, but there are categories that I needed to fit the activities into. It's a series from Reedy Press, and they have certain categories that they like authors to sort their activities into, including food and drink, meals and entertainment, sports and recreation, culture and history, shopping and fashion. So the hard part was less coming up with 100 things. The harder part was figuring out, okay, which things fit into this category? Do I have enough, shopping stops? Do I have enough places to eat? Do I need to, trim a few of the entertainment options I hope to include, just to make sure there's a good balance of activities for people to enjoy reading about in the book?
So what was your favorite activity that you found in Duluth?
My favorite activity that I have discovered in Duluth has been sailing. I've always loved watching sailboats, and I'm more about the great indoors than about the great outdoors. Generally speaking, I'm a writer, but I knew I couldn't pass up the opportunity to learn to sail. So I went out one day with an instructor at the Duluth Superior Sailing Association out on Park Point and learned how to navigate a little sailboat around the harbor. I won't say that I got great at it, but I learned some fundamentals about sailing and how boats move and how you take advantage of the different winds and how you work with what you're given. And just the thrill of being out there on the harbor was really fun and fascinating. That has certainly been my favorite activity I've discovered in Duluth, in addition to, of course, all the activities that I had discovered years ago and was happy to
Yeah.
return to in the process of writing this book.
Are there any details or activities that might surprise even, your local Duluthian?
I think there will be a few things in this book that even Duluthians don't necessarily know about. One was one that I learned about from my colleague Jimmy Loverin at the News Tribune. He wrote an article in our Northlandia series about Granitoid Memorial Park. This is a park that pays tribute to pavement. It's in the Chester Park neighborhood. It is near the second oldest existing stretch of concrete street in the United States. Yes, that is here in Duluth, and there is a park honoring the pavement, making use of some pieces of pavement that were pulled up from the street when the city went in to repave the street. Neighbors said, hang on now, let's just not tear up this history, even though, yes, this is century plus old pavement. So they saved some of the original pavement in the street. You can still drive or walk over it, but some of the historic pavement was moved to a little park where you can go and learn more about this historic road surface.
That's so fun. I had no idea about that.
Let me give
And
you a
that's
quick.
why you get this book.
Yes.
Um,
Oh, sorry. I had another one I was going to give you. Sorry,
Yeah,
I paused to look at my notes.
there you go.
I think another thing that Duluthians may not realize is a possibility is touring Cirrus Aircraft, the factory here in Duluth. We hear about Cirrus. We know about the incredible planes that are manufactured here in the city. We might have seen them flying if you've gone to the Duluth Air Show. But the factory is actually open for public tours. It's only once a week. It's this really specific time of week. But anyone can go. You just have to call in advance and let them know that you're coming, and then you can have an opportunity to see actually how these planes are manufactured. I've been in there, and the manufacturing process is as state of the art as the planes themselves, and really gave me a new understanding for the innovation that's happening here in Duluth.
So if people want to read this, where can they find this book?
Bookstores all across Duluth or wherever you buy books. It's available online. It's popping up at spots across the city where I hope it is discovered by people who might be looking for a little bit of inspiration for their continuing Duluth adventures. It's also available via links at my website, jaygabler.com. I'm also going to be appearing at a series of events this spring celebrating the release of the book. I'll be at Zenith Bookstore on April 26th. That's a independent bookstore day. Then the official book launch event will be at Fitger's Barrel Room. This will be really fun on May 3rd. I'll be collaborating with the bookstore at Fitger's to celebrate the release of the book and talk about Duluth's incredible brewing history, which is, of course, touched upon in the book and continues to this day right there at Fitger's. So people who are interested in sampling some of the latest brews to come out of Duluth will be able to do so right there at the event. Then speaking of brews, I'll be at Bent Paddle Brewing on May 22nd, appearing with Brianne Marie and the Front Porch Sinners. They'll be performing music, and Brianne Marie and I will be talking a little bit about the Duluth music scene. Those are just a few of the events coming up. I'm excited to be appearing at to celebrate the release of this book.
Well, thank you so much for joining me this morning. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Hannah. Appreciate the
Thank
opportunity.
you.